Why do good leaders sometimes make bad decisions? Why do bad leaders sometimes make good decisions? There are lots of different answers to this. In this session, we are going to discuss that sometimes good leaders make bad decisions. What we're going to cover in this session are what makes good leaders or bad leaders, what makes good or bad decisions, and do good leaders make bad decisions? And we'll have some examples of that. And how do we safeguard against the bad decisions? So let's start with what makes a good leader. Good leadership, there's some qualities here, and this is from many parts of the research. If you open any book or research about leadership, there are thousands and thousands of references to these are the qualities of good leadership. Honesty, integrity, vision, inspirational. They're committed to certain cause or passionate about certain things. They have empathy and good communication. They're decisive and they have good decision-making capabilities. They're confident and they're accountable. They're empowering others and having good delegation. They're creative and innovative. When I did my research, I asked probably about 5,000 managers the question, what makes a good leader? And the top three were very, very important. What makes a good leader is good communication, that they can communicate well. The second one is what makes a good leader is active listening, so they listen to the other people. And what makes a good leader is that they actually give feedback. So it's all about communicating, and it's all about including others in the decision making. What makes a bad leader? And here there are some qualities, and again from research from many different sources, and there's a lack of transparency in the leadership. We don't know what this person stands for or why they're making these decisions, and a lack of accountability. They make a decision and they go and they're never accountable and they don't take responsibility for their decision making. They dismiss others rather than include others. So they are egotistic and they don't listen. They lack empathy. They don't show that empathy with people, and they're closed-minded. They don't want to change. They made up their mind and that's it. They blame others and they're inconsistent in their decisions or in where they stand. They don't have good communication skills. Actually, they may have poor communication skills, and they don't develop others. They avoid the conflict, and they don't confront. They don't discuss. They don't bring things out, and they may lack vision. They don't have integrity, and we discussed that in many other points above. And they are not adaptable. They like to do the things that they want to do, and full stop. When I did my research as well, the top three answers from about 5,000 managers were poor or no communication. The second one is basically they are egotistic and they blame people or attack people. And another one was that they bully people emotionally. So what are good decisions? A good decision is about, it has positive impact on others, and on the business, on the future of the business, and on others. They're scalable. So if you make a decision at this level, it's scalable to another level in the organization so that there is replicated outcomes. They have greater stakeholder buy-in. Everyone, internally and externally, have ownership of this decision. They're systematic and executable. So they take through every different part of the organization, and they can be executed, they can be implemented, they are applied easily. Good decisions align the values and the mission and the objective and the strategic objective of the organization. They don't go outside that. And good decisions are built on facts, not fiction. They're built on data and not intuition. They're built on team involvement as a whole. So, according to Zenger and Falkman, from their research, and they've written a couple of books and other research reports, and in the Harvard Business Review in 2014, they talk about bad decisions. They're caused by lazy or failure to anticipate. They're also caused by indecision and reliance on status quo rather than on new data. They're caused by ignoring strategic alignment and data analysis. They're caused by overdependence and isolation, overdependence on certain things and isolation from other parts of the organization or other parts of data in the decision-making process. They lack technical understanding and they lack interpretation of what's going on. And also bad decisions are caused by poor communication and not as much stakeholder management. So will good leaders have bad decisions? Do they make bad decisions? Well, according to Campbell, Whitehead and Finkelstein, they had a research project on a number of occasions, and they write, the reality is the important decisions made by intelligent, responsible people with the best information and intentions are sometimes hopelessly flawed. What does that mean? It means that sometimes we rely on the data that's in front of us, and all the boundaries of the data that's in front of us, and we make these decisions accordingly. When we don't bring in other data, when we don't connect dots, with all of our good intentions, with all of our wise mental capabilities, we are limited to what's in front of us. And sometimes these decisions are flawed. So why good leaders make bad decisions? And this slide talks about 3 different stages of making bad decisions. The first one is about pattern recognition. Our brains recognize patterns, and that is a complex process that integrates information from our past, from many different parts of our brain, and brings it up and puts it in an order according to assumptions that we have created internally, assumptions that we have built up in our own cycle and from our prior experiences, from what makes sense, and we make judgment accordingly. So when we see things, when we see the data in front of us, our brain collectively, whether it's me or the team as well, our brain comes up with conclusions very quickly because of our previous experiences. Then you add that to our emotional tag, our affectual tag, and add emotional information, and therefore we start interpreting the data according to our assumptions. That becomes stronger. It attaches itself to thoughts and experiences that are stored in our memories, and therefore it might stop us from taking a decision, a step, because of a painful experience, or a failure in the past, or huge resistance from certain stakeholders. Or it might help us to make decisions that are risky because of good feelings or associated with good emotions because of previous experiences. And once we put the pattern recognition and the emotional triggers, we come up with the decisions. The decisions that are made and controlled by these 2 factors, the pattern recognition and the emotional triggers. How does that help us to understand? Well, in making decisions, no matter how intelligent we are, no matter how good we are as leaders, we need to always look at what are the assumptions that we're making out of the data that's in front of us? And what are the emotional triggers that are controlling the way we respond to this data that's in front of us, according to the patterns that we see? Because our brains create patterns out of small or 2 or 3 different dots rather than the whole picture. And it is linked to the emotions, and that then makes the decision. We need to ask the questions: what are our patterns? What are the triggers? And how is it affecting our decision-making process? Campbell, Whitehead, and Finstein again talk about our brains leap to conclusions and are reluctant to consider alternatives because there is an anchor, an emotional anchor attached to the patterns. We are particularly bad at revisiting our initial assessment of a situation. We need to always ask the question, do I have the right assumption? And should I revisit the assumption? So should I revisit the assessment of that situation? And if I can't do that, it may be detrimental. We may be making the wrong decisions. So how do we see that coming? There are red flags, and these red flags are inappropriate self-interest. That means we have biases and we are attached to these decisions or to these triggers. We may have distorted attachments to people or places or events that in the past gave us better emotions. Or we might have misleading memories causing us to overlook certain things, memories that are either good or painful. So we need to ask what is holding us back? So how do we safeguard against making bad decisions? There are 3 things. The first one is we need to inject fresh experience or analysis. We need to ask for more data, or we need to ask more information, or go and get some people, different people. And I think I've been repeating this on a number of occasions, but it is so important to get that fresh perspective and more data. Introduce further debate and challenge. Come back and challenge the underpinning assumptions. Challenge your first point of view and confront the biases and bring in a balance in your decision making. And the third one, create levels of authority and responsibility. Create levels of governance that will go beyond you so that someone else at a higher level has the permission to look at your decisions and to review your decisions. With that stronger governance, once you make a decision, or even before you make a decision, someone else who is at a bigger picture will look at it and may help you to make the right decision. So, what did we cover in this session? We looked at what makes a good leader, what makes a bad leader, what makes good decisions, what makes bad decisions, and what creates these bad decisions. And then we started looking at why would a good leader make a decision, a bad decision? We talked about the pattern recognition, about our memories, about our emotional memories, and when they lock horns together, when they are connected together, that may drive us to make the wrong decisions or bad decisions. And then we talked about how do we safeguard against these bad decisions.